going on YouTube? It's Jordan here. I wanted to bring you a video today for some of my viewers to get to know me a little better. So I'm going to talk a little bit about my history as a fish keeper. Starting with my very first 10-gallon, which ended tragically, and all the way up to my 37-gallon reef tank, which is sitting right here in front of us. So I'll give you a nice shot of the tank as I'm going over this stuff, and let's get started. Okay, so my very first tank. I guess my very first tank I would consider when I was probably about 10 or 12 years old. My dad actually had a fish tank, and I can remember watching it and enjoying it. But I didn't do maintenance on it or anything like that. I didn't know anything about fish back then, and basically didn't do anything with fish for years and years. And a couple, maybe 4 years ago, I had a buddy that got a fish tank, and I started kind of thinking maybe I should get another one of those fish tanks and start me up a fish tank. So it was a 10-gallon that I set up. I had guppies, platies, and tetras. I had probably about 13 fish in the 10-gallon. I didn't know anything about fish keeping or nitrogen cycle or anything like that. I can remember thinking I bought a filter and that little blue filter pad with the carbon rocks in it. I put that in there, it's ready to go, right? I didn't know anything about tap water conditioners or nitrogen cycle and cycling the tank. So basically it was just raw tap water, and the temperature was okay, but no water conditioners. And within, I'd say, a week or so, everything was covered in ick. And of course, I didn't know what that was back then. So, long story short, rest in peace, 13 fish. That tank was an absolute failure. And, I got to the point there where I pretty much wanted to give up. But for some reason, I decided to try it again. So, went out and got a few books and did some reading about fish keeping, learned about the nitrogen cycle, and say probably about several months later I decided to set up another tank. So I had the 10-gallon going again. I got myself a little Oscar that I was growing out for probably 6 or 7 months in the 10-gallon. And then at some point I went out and bought a 30-gallon. I don't have specific dates on all this, but bought myself a 30-gallon, got a Piranha, and I liked that, but I decided I wanted more, so I got 2 more Piranhas, and pretty soon, of course, I needed to upgrade the tank, so I got a 55-gallon for the Piranhas, and had that for a while. The 30-gallon, I was keeping a community tank in. I had tetras and stuff like that. I had some problems with fin and tail rot, bacterias, and I didn't know what I was doing then either. I tried medicating, but wasn't able to save anything. The 55-gallon, I got rid of the Piranhas after a while. Oh no, I'm sorry. Had the Piranhas still for a while. Moved them to a 30-gallon as I was using the 55 for a community. And yeah, I know, it was kind of stupid. I went out and bought the 55 for the Piranhas and then eventually ended up having the Piranhas in the 30. But they were still pretty small at that point. Anyway, so the 30-gallon, eventually I had lots of fin and tail rot issues, as I said. Eventually tore down the tank, lost most of those fish too. So it was still hard times back then, still learning lots of stuff, and I eventually just started doing research on every single fish before I bought them. Learned the hard way, and I don't make those mistakes anymore. That was probably the end of my major problems in fish keeping, I'd say, as far as learning the basics. But anyway, I did try having some plants in the 55-gallon. Of course, I didn't know anything about the lighting or the oxide that the plants require, so those didn't last too long. And shortly after I'd moved, the piranhas went back into the 55 gallon. I had a 75 gallon that I'd bought and I'd set up with ball of sharks and angels, and I do have a picture of that one I'll show you. Had that one for quite a while, maybe a year or so, a little bit longer, and I really enjoyed it. But what happened was one day I came home from work and my piranhas, 2 of them had actually decided to eat one of the other ones. So maybe a month or so after that, I took the 2 piranhas that I had left in. They were like 5 inches at that point, and that was quite exciting catching those guys at that size. But anyway, traded them in for some store credit, and I'd been thinking about African cichlids for a while, so I started an African cichlid tank, and that was in the 55 gallon. Still had the ball of sharks for quite a bit longer. Really enjoyed both tanks. I had lots of fake plants and stuff with the ball of sharks. It was a pretty cool looking freshwater tank. But anyway, I started wanting more African cichlids, started really liking the colors that they had and their behaviors. I just thought their behaviors were so cool, the way they established their hierarchy, and eventually just kind of fell in love with the African cichlids and made the decision to trade in my ball of sharks to a local fish store and turn the 75 gallon into an African cichlid tank. And you all know what the cichlid tank looks like now. I'll show you a shot for those who don't. So anyway, the African cichlid tank is doing well now. Don't have too many issues in there. Occasional loss here and there. Otherwise, everything's been going pretty smooth in there. And oh yeah, I also recently started up a 55 gallon grow out at my parents' house. I don't have a picture of that one yet, I don't think. I'll try to get one soon. But just put my first batch of peacock hybrids and my yellow lab red zebra hybrids over in that tank. So I'll get a little video of that soon and let you guys see what that looks like. Didn't have the space to set it up here, but fortunately my parents are pretty supportive of my hobby. They know I'm trying to make this into a career at some point, so they're pretty supportive of it. And I'm actually starting to get ready to sell some of these fish and make a little money off of them, which is pretty exciting. So I plan to expand my hobby further and further until eventually it can become a business. Not just selling fish, but fragging, propagating corals, doing lots of breeding, probably even some tank setups and maintenance to get started. And eventually I want to have a nice aquatic pet store. So I guess that brings us to about 9 months ago or so, when I made the decision to start a saltwater tank. It's very intimidating getting into saltwater. I thought about it for a long time, and all I can say is once I got started, I wish I just would have started it sooner. It's been quite a journey, but it's been very fun. Had some highs, had some lows. Haven't had anything extreme happen, but a few corals that weren't too happy and didn't work out type thing, and a couple fish dying. But anyway, I started this tank with 40 pounds live sand, 45 pounds of Fiji premium live rock. I cycled it with the live rock in the display tank and cured the live rock in the tank. My filtration from the start, I've been running this very large canister filter with UV sterilizer. Got the Hydro Smart Wave Coralia 850, but that was a bit too strong, so I took that in for some credit recently, and I'm getting myself another Aquarion 550 here soon. And some of the other equipment I've added, I started this tank with a regular T5 fluorescent by Coralife, and it did okay, but the colors weren't really too good. The corals were always okay, but they definitely look a lot better under this new LED light. I got the current USA Orbit Marine, and I also added a skimmer not long ago and a phosphate reactor this last week too. The pumps are kind of tacky looking in the back of the tank, but that's kind of what you get when you don't have a sump. But everything's been pretty stable in here. I lost the firefish back when it was still in the quarantine when I first got started. It was a Petco fish that just wasn't healthy from the get-go. Should have never bought it. And I lost a pair of clowns recently that I purchased from Petco. That's the last time I'll be buying fish from Petco again. I'll be doing most of my fish shopping on liveaquaria.com, saltwaterfish.com. My corals I've been purchasing from a guy that lives about a mile away from me. He's got a really nice 150-gallon reef, mixed reef, and he frags and sells corals a lot. He's got a nice 40-gallon frag tank. So that's where I've been getting all that. And I've had maybe 2 corals, I think, that didn't work out. My pulsing xenia polyps, they're getting destroyed by my coral beauty eventually. My green digitata, I'm not too sure it's going to make it. I broke it in half by accident. I'm going to try relocating it tomorrow and see if I might be able to spruce a little bit of life back into it. And then also the other coral banded shrimp I added recently. Apparently that's a big no-no, having 2 of those together. Got slaughtered by the other banded coral shrimp that I've had for a while. So those are some of the lows that I've had in the reef tank. Otherwise, my parameters have all been in check the whole time, even with the just running the phosphate nitrate media and the simple hang-on back filter was doing the job for quite a while. But as my bio load increased, I started seeing the need for a protein skimmer and phosphate reactor, so that's where I'm at now. But anyway, I think this video's ran long enough today. I hope you guys enjoyed getting to know me a little bit better and my history as a fish keeper. I've really enjoyed getting to know some of you guys. A lot of guys that have been commenting on my videos and watching them all the time. Noor Azman Mohammed, Trey Smith, New York City Cichlids, the Angry Fish Man, so many others. I'm sorry if I can't remember your names right off the top of my head here, but thanks to everyone that's been watching my videos and been supporting my channel. I really enjoy doing these videos and getting to know more people in the fish community. So if you enjoyed this, subscribe to my channel. You'll be notified when the next episode comes out. Thanks for watching.